Some of us have been facing insurmountable challenges, and I hope you're taking time to connect with each other and support each other during the week. This morning, I asked Gary Channer to share a piece of his own family history. Gary, is there any significance to yesterday?
Kirsten, absolutely. June 19th is significant because that is the day of liberation from slavery for many African Americans. Even though the Emancipation Proclamation was written in 1863, June 19th, 1865 is significant because that was the day that slaves in Texas finally got word that they were liberated.
Really? I remember as a kid learning about the Underground Railroad and emancipation, but I don't remember Juneteenth. How did you learn about it?
Well, my maternal grandmother, who was born in 1888, lived with us while I was growing up in New York, and she and my mother were very keen about keeping us appraised of African American history because it wasn't taught in the school system.
I can't imagine what that must be like to see history that you know about omitted from our history books. What else do they tell you?
Well, my grandmother and mother told me that my great-grandparents, my mother's maternal grandparents, were former slaves, and that she was able to learn a lot about her grandparents' life as a slave up until they were freed at the Emancipation Proclamation. For example, my grandfather joined the Union Army, and my great-grandmother was a Native American member of the Choctaw Nation. Often, African slaves would run away and join Native American tribes to have their freedom. When slave bounty hunters found them, they would also enslave, whenever possible, Native Americans, and this is how my great-grandmother became a slave. After the Civil War, my great-grandparents married and moved west and settled in Missouri, where my grandfather was born in 1884.
You've taught me a lot today, so there's personal significance for you.
Yes, as a matter of fact, this is one of the earliest photos that I have of my grandparents, my mother as an infant, and my aunt on the way to celebrate Juneteenth in a neighboring town.
Thank you, Gary. I see how freedom didn't just happen one day because the Emancipation Proclamation said it was so. It was a process, a long process for our country to act on that proclamation. And true freedom for all in our country is still a work in progress even today. Thanks for sharing.